I was at a home inspection recently with a buyer who is from the West Coast, and she made a comment about how there are so many things she didn't even know that she should be worried about discovering during the home inspection process when buying a house here in Georgia. Every state has issues localized to them, so I thought it was such a great point that we needed this video. Hi, I'm Sarah Mislowski with KeyPoint Homes Group, a local real estate agent serving the Northeast Metro Atlanta area, and I specialize in relocation and have helped clients from all over the country and world relocate right here to Georgia. If you are looking to make a move to Georgia, I want to be your real estate agent. You can find my contact information below this video. What are the hidden dangers that you need to look for when buying a house here in Georgia? One of the first hidden dangers you might encounter when you are looking at homes in Georgia is polybutylene piping. Polybutylene piping is a form of plastic resin that was used to make water supply pipes from 1978 until 1995. It was a very cheap alternative to materials like copper, so everyone thought it was going to be the best new product to use. Well, people later realized that this material breaks down easily when oxidants in the public water supplies, such as chlorine, react with the polybutylene in the piping and the fittings, causing them to scale and flake and become very brittle. This creates like little tiny fractures in the pipes, which reduces kind of like the structural integrity of the pipes in the house. And over time, they can fail and basically flood your house. The cost to replumb a house can cost anywhere from $1,500 to $15,000 or more, depending upon the size of the house and the type of new pipes being installed. If the house you are looking at was built after 1995, this is not something you need to worry about. I will always recommend that you have a professional home inspection during your due diligence period, and the inspector will let us know whether or not the home has polybutylene pipes, so we know whether or not to ask the seller for a credit towards your closing costs or to repipe the house. Now, sometimes you can also see if a house has polybutylene piping if the home was built prior to 1995 by looking physically underneath the sinks to see if we can identify it. Usually polybutylene piping has kind of like a gray color and blue writing on it. Now, in the state of Georgia, the seller's disclosure actually asks the question, does your house have polybutylene piping? Sometimes we'll see that sellers will answer no, but the real answer is yes. And a lot of those times it's just because they don't have that knowledge that it's had polybutylene piping. So this is something that you definitely want to have checked out. The next hidden danger we are going to be on the lookout for is Louisiana Pacific's inner seal siding, or we refer to this as LP siding. It was a siding product produced from 1985 to 1995 and was seen as a smarter, cheaper alternative to traditional plywood, and it quickly became a popular choice with builders. Well, in 1996, a class action lawsuit was filed against Louisiana Pacific, citing manufacturing issues with the composite siding. Homeowners reported that their siding was cracking, swelling, discoloring, and even growing mold and fungus. It was also prone to termites, and since Georgia is such a damp state, it did not fare well here. Now, you're not going to find a ton of houses that still have this siding, but when you do, it is quite obvious. It looks like kind of like the bottoms of the boards are rotten or swollen. You can also kind of like go up to them and touch them, and it almost kind of feels like cardboard. And that's because water has gotten into the siding. It has caused it to swell. Now, replacing siding on a house can be very expensive, and obviously it depends on the size of your house and what material you choose to put on for new siding. But the average is about $12 a square foot and about $10,000 for the whole project, give or take. This is also something that you want to be on the lookout for whenever you are looking for a home here in Georgia that has siding. And of course, this is something that I will help you identify. And we always have the backing of a really great home inspector as well that will identify this for you. The next hidden danger you might find in Georgia homes is termite damage. Termites love Georgia. Since Georgia is such a damp state and we have red clay instead of normal soil, it is hard for water to penetrate the ground quickly, which can can create a breeding ground for termites since they are attracted to moisture and wood, and we have plenty of both. It's estimated that 1 in 5 houses in Georgia will have termite damage at one point or another. We have every home we help clients purchase inspected by a pest control company to check for termites since it is such a widespread issue here. Now, it's not always super obvious that there has been termite damage, hence the term it's a hidden danger, since a lot of the damage they do is kind of behind the walls. You might notice crumbling or cracked wood on exterior walls, and sometimes it's hard to tell, is this because of wood rot or is it because of termites? Now, obviously you're going to be protected by that termite inspection that the professionals are doing, and you have a home inspector that is also trained to look for this damage as well. Now, best practices is that you want to stay on top of preventing termites by having a pest control company come out and regularly do a preventative treatment to the home. This is a pretty cheap and effective method that's going to save you a ton of money in the long run. Termite bonds usually run between $300 to $400 per year. If a home does have significant termite damage, the treatment for the termites themselves is likely going to cost you around $800 to $1,000, plus whatever the cost it is to fix the actual damage that they caused. It is estimated that the average homeowner who discovers termite damage spends about $3,000 to fix the issue. Atlas Chalet shingles are the next hidden danger you want to be on the lookout for when purchasing your Georgia home. This unique 3-tab shingle was created to be an affordable shingle that has a layered, 3-dimensional look like an architectural shingle. In reality, the Chalet was not an architectural shingle, but was designed to look like one, though, through a process of granular application. This was a super popular product with builders because it was cheap. In 2008, Atlas Corporation announced that it would not produce the product anymore due to a marketing decision, but really it was because of consumer complaints and impending lawsuit. Around the Atlanta area, the Atlas Chalet shingles were especially common from about 2000 until they were discontinued in 2010 because they looked similar to the high-end architectural shingles, but they were more affordable. People claimed that the company misleadingly advertised that the Atlas Chalet shingles would last 30 years, when in reality the shingles would blister and crack long before that, sometimes having problems within the first year or two after installation. Recently, we had a client purchase a home Atlas Chalet shingles and the roof was failing. The shingles were experiencing just that. They were blistering and they had granular loss at a far more rapid pace than normal shingles. Now, we were able to negotiate for a brand new roof paid for by the seller. Now, the seller in this scenario was open door and they needed to offload this property, so we did not have too much trouble getting them to agree to replace the roof. Now, this will always be the easiest solution in a transaction, but most of the time when it comes to roofs that are failing, this is something that a seller's insurance company will pay to replace. Another literally invisible danger in Georgia homes is radon. Radon is a naturally occurring radioactive gas that can cause lung cancer. Radon gas is inert, colorless, odorless, and naturally exists in the atmosphere in trace amount. Outdoors, you're going to find that radon disperses kind of rapidly and generally it's not a health issue, but when it's concentrated inside a home, it can increase the risk of lung cancer over time. Radon gas becomes trapped indoors after it enters buildings through cracks and other holes in the foundation, but it can be controlled with a properly installed radon mitigation system. Now, the only way to know if a home has radon is by doing a radon test during your home inspection. This is something that I would say about 50% of clients choose to do. Radon is typically more present in homes with basements, but it can also be found on homes with a traditional slab as well. You could do testing at one house and it tests incredibly high, and then you can test the house next door and it could have normal safe levels. If you do a radon inspection during your due diligence period and the report shows that the home has unsafe levels of radon, a radon mitigation system system can be installed to fix the problem. Now, the good news is this is an easy thing to install, and the cost is not that bad. It's between $1,200 and $2,000. Luckily, it's very easy to mitigate, and it requires like no ongoing maintenance. So once the issue has been resolved, it typically stays resolved so long as that radon mitigation system is functioning properly. Now, Georgia is in an area where we naturally have higher levels of radon in the earth, which is why this issue is a little bit more prevalent here in Georgia than you would find in other parts of the South, like Florida, for instance. The last hidden danger is not really dangerous at all when taken proper care of, and that is a septic tank. Some people are very anti-septic, but about 50% of the homes here in North Georgia have septic systems, especially if the lot you live on is over half of an acre. This is because it's really costly for the city to run sewer lines to these bigger lots. So we have septic tanks instead. We've noticed that many people who do not have previous experience owning a home with a septic tank think that it's something they're going to have massive maintenance issues or fees to deal with, and they say that they want to avoid any homes with a septic tank. If you are pumping your tank every 3 to 5 years like recommended, which is going to cost you around $500, you can keep your system in great working order and avoid any major costly repairs. People automatically assume that septic tanks come with a ton of additional expenses farther down the line. And if you maintain it properly, that is not always the case. So if there's a house that you're really interested in and it's on a septic tank, don't be afraid. It is not going to affect or impact your everyday life whatsoever. Well, I guess a tiny bit. You're not going to be able to flush whatever you want down the drain. Whatever you flush down the drain goes into the septic system. So everyday waste or household feminine products or waste from food, you're not going to want to put a ton of that down the drain. The biggest thing to keep in mind is that if you plan on putting a pool in the backyard, you will want to pay attention to where the tank and the field lines are located in that house, because obviously you can't put a pool in where the septic tank is in the backyard. If the builder has thought ahead, you're going to find that septic tank is on the side of the yard, and sometimes you'll even find the septic tanks located in the front yard. Now, I recently replaced my 60-year-old septic tank. If that gives you any reference to how long these last, and this was like an original septic tank, and it cost around $15,000 to do that. If you have them regularly inspected and pumped when necessary, you most likely won't have any issues at all. The most important takeaway here is that home inspections are so extremely important during the home buying process, and you need an agent who knows how to troubleshoot any of these issues that might come up. If you're buying a home in the state of Georgia, I want to be that agent for you. Make sure you reach out to me. You can find my contact information directly below this video. Also, if you're thinking about making a move to Georgia, make sure you check out this video.